Hi, I'm Miss Homer. I'm the curator of the Turner Dodge House. And at this time of year is kind of a magical time for us because it's a holiday open house. And you'll get a chance after the program today to have a tour of the house with Ron Turner, who is one of the relatives of the James and Marion Turner family and a descendant of Richard Turner. And quite an authority now on the family and history. And tonight, because of the fact that we're going to have this wonderful Depression-era glass display in the dining room for the holiday open house, we invited Marcus Burkholder to come and to show his display and give us a little bit of a talk about it, because it's getting to be extremely popular. And the thing about it is that probably at the turn of the century or in the 1930s when this was here, it would not have been set out on the dining room table for Christmas. It was a 5 or 10 cent piece for a plate or a cup or something. But now it's quite treasured and extremely valuable. And Marcus will tell you about how he got involved with it. And some of you will probably recognize or remember Marcus Burkholder from being the principal of Geyer in part of the Lansing School District for over 30 years. And but now he's having fun collecting wonderful pieces of Depression-era glass, and you can imagine in the period of time that he did it, he became quite an expert on it. So I'm sure you'll enjoy the program tonight, and for people who are watching, I hope that you'll come to the house during this month. We're open from Wednesday through Sunday from 1 to 4, and it'll be through the 21st. On the Saturdays, we'll have Santa Claus here from 1 to 4, and that means bring your camera, bring your children and grandchildren, and a story hour at 2 o'clock on Sundays, and wonderful music and performers all during the weekend. So I hope you'll come down and see it for real. Marcus.
Thank you, Liz. Let me first of all dispel any ideas that I'm an expert in this thing. In the first place, experts are what? Drips under pressure. And I don't even want to be classified that way. And we have some experts in the room, I think. Some antique experts. I do have a collection of Royal Lace green glass. I purposely put this in here. I want to show you that we use it. We set our table at Christmas time in the green glass. This is it's called Royal Lace pattern, and it was made in Martinsburg, Virginia. And the company, you know, it's old age, that's what does it. I forget the company's names and so on and so forth right off the bat, but it'll come to me and we'll talk about it a little bit. And it is a joy to be here and to also get acquainted with Ron Turner again. Ron and I worked in the school district many long years ago. We've been retired, both of us, for quite a while. This is a piece of glass, or it is glass, that I started collecting because one of my staff members brought me one of these one time. She said, "Here, I know you're into antiques a bit and so on and so forth. I want you to have this plate." In fact, I believe she brought 4 of them. And that started the adventure. Since then, we've been all over the country. We have sent to a lot of magazines, a lot of dealers, that kind of thing, collecting the pieces. It's Hazel Atlas is what it was. It was a very cheap glass. Now this is, people commonly call it Depression glass. That's not exactly that describes this, but it's not all that this was, because there was a lot of glass made back in Depression times. A lot of it was hand blown, and it was hand finished. They sanded it, they rubbed it down, they did whatever with it, and they etched it by hand. Then along came a new mechanized process with some very cheap glass. It's not an expensive type of glass at all. And they were able to put it into a mold. And they made those molds so that they had some special designs on them. They have a ridge around here, they have this scalloped edge, they've got the lacy pattern down in the bottom. And one mold would make hundreds and thousands of pieces. So they started producing this stuff in the 1930s, and it was extremely inexpensive. You could buy a whole set for $2.25. Now this particular pattern comes in 4 colors. Comes in blue, pink, crystal, and green. There's a bit of amethyst too that's with it from time to time. But you would go to the movies, and if you had your quarter, you could get 2 tickets and a tumbler. And that was the way people started collecting it. Or you might stop at the gas station, and they might give you, you know, $3 worth of, well, I don't suppose you paid $3 worth of gas back then. Most of us, I think, paid $1. But you might get a berry bowl with it, because it was extremely inexpensive. And they would give, furniture factories would give a whole set to anybody that was interested in buying so much furniture. You buy a room full of furniture, buy a dining room set, we'll give you a set of dishes. And then it just passed down from people from one hand to another, and your mother probably has some, probably some of you have, a lot of you have pieces at home. And it, you know, didn't, big deal. 10 cents worth of glass, you know, they got it for wedding gifts because it was a quarter. Your mother may have explained that to you somewhere along the way. But since then, people have started all of a sudden collecting it. And when they start collecting it, it then becomes rather valuable. I have in this collection every piece that they made in this pattern and in this color, with the exception of one piece. They made 3-legged bowls like this, and they made them with a straight edge, and here's a candlestick they made the same way, a straight edge. They made it with a ruffled edge, and they made it with a rolled edge. And I have never seen the rolled edge. Ask her to say, when he's out hunting antiques, you know, look for that rolled edge bowl, because that's one I certainly would be interested in getting. When you start collecting, like I say, it was rather inexpensive. You could pick up a plate for $10, not unusual. Some of the pieces, because they get broken easily, tumblers. This tumbler today would probably command $125 to $150. The royal lace pattern is kind of distinctive. It's got a lot of lacy things around the top, but on the bottom of every piece you'll see a 4-leaf clover. So in any piece that you pick up, you'll find that. You'll find that the edges are rough because they were molded and they were not polished. There's nothing like that. They made, and we have a grill plate, which there are several of them on display out here, I believe. They have the lines in it to separate food. They made a dinner plate. They made a luncheon plate. They made a bread and butter plate. They made a berry bowl. They made a cream soup bowl. They made 4 different sizes of tumblers, cups and saucers, 4 different pitchers. So it's been a challenge to try to find all of the pieces. And that's what we've done, is to just travel around the country finding pieces. Now, like I say, I'm not an expert. That's about as much as I can tell you about depression glass, but I would like to try to answer questions that you might have. If somebody came up with one today, said they couldn't be here tonight, what's this? You know what that is?
The pattern?
What is it? Yeah.
Sunflower.
Sunflower.
You're right. You're right.
And what is that, a footed
That's
cake
a fun.
plate?
That's a sunflower cake plate.
Footed cake
And the
plate.
first thing you want to do if you want to get interested in something like this is pick up a copy of Gene Florence. He's the expert on this, and you can just hunt through here until you can come to sunflower. And they'll have pieces there, and they'll give you some kind of an idea. This is a '94 book. The cake plate, they say, is in green is worth $15. That's what they're saying now.
In 94.
That was in '94. Yeah, I don't know what it is today. I did have mine evaluated, and he came back with about $7,200 for the entire set.
For your, yeah.
And we're talking about nickel and dime stuff, you know. I was a Depression era baby. Back when I was little, you know, you got this stuff for free. You went to the show, you got a piece of glass. But as you begin to put it together, then that begins to make it worthwhile.
And the interesting thing is that even at garage sales, everybody's got Gene Florence's book. So they don't sell it for a nickel or a dime anymore at garage sales.
Yeah, you can buy his book. All you gotta have is money. But yeah, there's still a lot of it out there. There's still a lot of it out there, but it's getting harder and harder to find. You don't find many big collections any longer. And I would guess that I have as big a collection as anybody in the United States. I guess you can say that if nobody disputes it. So I have service for 13, every piece that they made, with the exception of the one bowl. I don't have, this is the rolled edge, I don't have that bowl in this design. Other than that, I've got it all.
Is it the only pattern you collect?
Yeah, it's the only one my wife will let me collect. I do have some dogwood. It's in the pink. I like that in the pink.
Well, do you use the internet much?
Pardon?
Do you use the internet? Have you tried to find that
I've been
bowl?
on the internet, yeah, hunted on the internet. I thought I could find it. How many of you are familiar with Replacements Limited? Several of you. If you want any China or anything, that's the place to go. And they do have this pattern. I get a copy every month of everything that they have in green royal lace, but it's not been they haven't found that one bowl yet. Still looking.
Do they charge a lot too? It seems like a company like that might.
It's surprising. I don't think so.
No.
I mean, probably the plates would be $20, $25 now.
Huh.
So it's not an exorbitant amount. But they're very interesting because you can call them and talk to them on the phone and describe your pattern. And they'll think about it for a little while, and then they'll come back and say, I think this is what you've got, and yes, we have it. We went down. What does Replacements Limited conjure up in your mind? You know,
Big warehouse. Or
a big warehouse with dust this thick on everything. Well, we stopped in to see what it was, and it's an elegant place. It's all done with chandeliers and mirrors and everything all over. But they have every pattern, and if you talk to them about what you want, they'll go back and they'll find it. We asked them about something that was, it was some of the later, it wasn't depression glass, but it was some of the later stuff that was bought at grocery stores, you know, where you made your $25 purchase and you got a plate.
Every week you got a plate.
Yeah, every week you got something different. They have those patterns. So if anything that you're missing, that's
Where
a
are
place
they
to contact.
located?
They're located in North Carolina, outside Asheville.
Do you know if they carry patterns that might have been made in other countries?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. But it's a good place to go.
Well, they're making reproductions of these glass depression era.
To the best of our knowledge, this one has not been reproduced.
I was gonna say, I don't
At
think
least,
we're all in.
I think the blue may have been reproduced, but you can tell because of the color. It's not the cobalt blue that was original.
Oh,
It's more of a blue-green. But yes, they have bought some of the molds and have tried to do it with some of the other patterns.
is there like, how many more patterns, like 10, 20?
I don't know how many
Lots of
patterns they
different
must have
patterns.
made. This book is
Yeah.
full of them. That's all it is. It's
Like-
just depression glass patterns.
Oh,
You know, I mean, and open it. And somebody was asking on the way in tonight about ruby red. That's a glass from that era too.
That's Anchor Hocking.
hmm
And if they're talking about the square plates,
Well, they made several pieces.
well, yeah, ruby red was a color. And they
Mhm.
made a lot of different pieces of
Mhm.
it, but,
But they would be very valuable today. Like I say, I started my collection when a teacher gave me those pieces. So I started looking, and it's fun. Every time you go to town, you go up all the local antique shops, and you go in and you bum around looking for something in particular. I found a cookie jar we've got in the window out there. The cookie jar I found believe I found that in Indiana, but I found the lid in Bancroft, Michigan. So you have to just keep your eyes open because you'll pick up little things that, you know, you didn't even understand what you were doing exactly. And of course I didn't understand what I was doing, except I liked it.
What year was that you started? Do you know?
That was probably about 1985.
Oh.
I think
What were you
about
paying?
20 Pardon?
What were you paying for it then when you'd find it?
It's kind of all over the place. Sometimes you would find it and they didn't know what they had.
Yeah.
Once in a while you'll find it at a garage sale or something like that, and they think, well, you know, we've been told that depression glass is just, you know, it's so cheap glass, and your mother handed it down to you, and you say, well, yeah, that's nice, it's Mom's, I'll keep it. But a lot of people just threw them away. And so they put them on a rummage sale for 10 cents a piece or something like that. But because glasses are a little hard to find, they get to be very, very expensive. You know.
That's because people used them and they got broken.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And you had the same thing with
They
the
raised their
pictures.
kids with them.
You know, the handles are gone, the eye slips are gone. This one has I don't know whether it's deformed a little bit or not on the eye slip. There's not much space up there.
A lot of them are deformed. I mean, those were the
Oh.
imperfections in the cheap glasses that,
They did a remarkable job of coming up. You know, I think this is quite an intricate pattern for
Oh,
just
yeah.
pouring it into a mold and having it come out as well as it did. And you know, mold would make, I think back then they made 1,000 of them with one mold. So you'd run a whole bunch of green glasses today, and tomorrow you'd change color or something. But it wasn't a fast market. You didn't make a whole lot of money doing that. Not as much as you do today. Would you like to have a set of glass in your shop? Yeah.
How long did they make that? Just a
About
few
5
years or a long time?
It was only about 5 years, from
Oh.
35 to 40. That era, maybe 41.
Why'd they stop?
Why did they stop?
Yeah.
Well, it fell out of favor after. I mean, it was junk. You know, I mean, that's what it was. It was just cheap junk. But you could get, at that time, you could get a table that looked pretty good for not much money. I mean, you compare that with trying to buy china, fine china, and it was definitely a different story.
well, a lot of it was because it was a cheap industry. And then when World War II came along, the labor industry picked up and the labor market went down. I mean, they had to have been paying the workers just pennies to make that stuff.
That's true.
You can
Yeah,
imagine
right.
working at a furnace all day, pressing glass.
Yeah, I liken it to, and I wonder, you know, here we are, we're collecting it. We spend lots of money, we spend lots of time collecting it and so on and so forth when it was really, and I wonder what's going to happen 50 years from now when people find these plastic bottles with water in them. And they say, my mom and dad paid $5 for this bottle of water. So, you know, it's probably a passing type of thing. I was just
Well, I've always wondered if people someday collect Tupperware.
just out at MSU, I worked the football games out there, and a half liter of water out there is $5. And the only thing I don't dislike about it is I don't know why I wasn't smart enough to think about putting water in a bottle and selling it. Are there or any patterns you want to look at or anything like that? We can help you. If you want to get into the business, if you want to get into collecting, and if you have some, you know, keep it. Keep it. It's only going to get more valuable. And if you decide you just have to throw it away, I'll give you my phone number. Because I'd like to have it thrown my way if you're. But it is it's a fun thing to collect. It really is. But if you're going to collect, you need to get something like this. Gene Florence sort of wrote the book on it. And it just he tells you in there about what it is and what you ought to pay for it. And you know, it's just like everything else. You look, and if you can find a good buy, you pick it up. The other thing that is dangerous about it is that once you start one collection, you may start another one after you know. It's
We've just
kind of
decided we might
addictive.
go green.
Just decided we might go green.
Green's a little less common than pink, is that right?
Yes, probably.
I've been told.
In fact, the yellow may be the most common.
Okay. Yeah, I find the yellow sometimes even I can still find it at Goodwill or Volunteers of America or something, you know, just
Right.
walking through. Usually yellow is what I see, sort of the amber colored.
Yeah, that's a very popular one. But like it could be addictive. I have started a collection of dogwood. I don't expect to be this extensive with dogwood. They made hundreds of pieces, I think. But then I switched and started collecting Noritake China in the azalea pattern. And some of these are just really fun. It's just fun to go into a place and once in a while you make a find.
Yeah.
You find a piece that you don't have. Keep good records of what you have, so you don't buy a lot of duplicates. But enjoy it. You can go, I know the Mega Mall up there in North Lansing has several pieces of depression glass in it. Now you have to hunt for it. Nobody's got it all collected together. Do you have any depression glass in your shop?
Yeah, there's a lot of it in Williamston.
In Williamston, there's a lot of it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, where do you find is a good place to go for it? Are there certain towns that are good for?
A good place to go for it's where you find that piece.
Wherever.
You really can't predict
Yeah.
where it is. We were just up in New England this fall and didn't see a piece.
Hmm.
We thought that might be a good place to go to hunt. They said that there's a lot of glass up in Maine and so on, but we were up there, and particularly in Rhode Island, and didn't find any. I know there's some pieces up here to make them all. I know there's some in Williamston. I don't think they have a rolled edge bowl though. Mason is a fun place to go hunt.
There are 2 depression glass shows in the Detroit area every year, one in the spring and one in the fall. The fall one I think is in Dearborn and the spring one's in Madison Heights.
I haven't been to the Madison Heights one. I've been to Dearborn several times.
It's the same exhibitors usually, you know,
Yeah.
much the same stuff.
Yeah, they just do it at a different
But at those
place.
shows, they bring only their finest stuff, you know, their
Oh,
best,
yeah.
highest quality and.
But you can find pieces there.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a good place to pick up, like, we collect Pink Sierra,
Pink Sierra?
and we got one salt and pepper shaker in one booth, and another salt and pepper shaker in another booth, and then we had a set.
Right. There's the one she's talking about.
And that's in green. And the reason we collected is because we inherited some pieces from his grandmother,
Right.
and then we started adding to it.
Mm-hmm.
She had plates and cups and saucers, and now we've added a lot of the serving pieces.
And you're finding it fun
No,
to
the name of it.
go out and hunt that. Yeah. And the other thing that was kind of bad about it all was that my wife decided if I was going to be hunting this stuff in places she had to hunt something, and she started collecting cast iron bookends. It's very heavy to bring home. Because I have a brother-in-law that collects Griswold iron, cast iron skillets and stuff. And when we go together, I have to take the truck.
You don't fly, huh?
Do you charge an extra for mileage?
We take the truck because we know it's going to be heavy coming back. Yeah,
What is the dogwood that you talk, is it a pattern or is it a?
it's a pattern. Mm-hmm. I think I've got a pattern. I think I've got it here too.
Some of those patterns are really beautiful.
They are. There's a blow up of the pattern.
No, it doesn't. There's a cake plate that the family has always talked about that I've never seen. Because we don't know what happened to it. But it was a little 3-footed cake plate, and it was pink,
Yeah,
and
we just had some leaves, I don't recall any flowers,
Just some leaves. Were they long? Well, there's a lot of. Here, I like this book. This is Warman's depression glass book because he's got a thumbnail of all the patterns in the front and has them all identified. So you can take a look down there and see. You see anything there that You wondered how many patterns there were?
Oh my gosh.
There are several.
There's one with,
No, it was more spread out than that. I've had a lot of people show me something that's favorite of theirs, and they call it
Yeah.
carnival glass.
Some people call
Carnival
it-
glass, carnival glass is iridescent.
We had, yeah, spiral.
And it's usually in an orange or something like that, and it will show different colors.
His mother gave us
Yes, that's very
9
nice, and
plates
there's a lot of
and
collectors
cups
now
and
of carnival
saucers.
glass.
And is
from
there
his
a
grandmother.
story behind
And
it,
she
kinda
got him
like
going to
this?
the show, you know.
I don't, do you know the story behind carnival glass?
A lot of it was made about 1910 onward, and it was sold at carnivals. It was cheap. And it's real bright and garish and purples and reds and blues and this type of thing. And that's now very expensive too and very desirable to collect. And that went out of favor about 1920. Then it get in briefly in the 1950s, but it was just a washed out tone.
Was it a mass-produced
Yeah.
thing?
But some of those pieces are worth thousands though. There's some real rare ones.
Yeah,
Carnival glass.
Carnival glass.
carnival glass. A lot of people have carnival glass around. You have a piece or two, you know. Your mother had one. Another one that's very popular is the one that's kind of gold with a red around the top as a general
Goofus.
rule.
The goofus.
Goofus glass, yeah.
That's,
Goofus.
okay.
If you saw one, it's real garish, silver and gold and red and three-dimensional. That was very cheap too, but that's also popular now. Some people don't like to look at it,
So
so
if
they
we
peel
have
off,
it-
they
if-
peel off the color.
I was gonna say, you
And they
see a
get
lot of
back to
pieces
the
with the
clear.
color worn off.
Oh my.
Is this glass as sturdy as
So if we have it,
drinking
we can
glass?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
sturdy. Yeah, this said, you don't let that, this is, we're gonna set the table.
I love
We're
this
gonna leave it
one.
here for the Christmas holidays. But I just read the other day, and I was a little bit surprised to hear that. They say, put it in the dishwasher. That it will not put a film on it with the new soaps and so on and so forth, and you don't break near as many of them. This was a one that you had a little trouble finding because it was the cream soup bowl with 2 handles on it, and they got knocked off a lot. You can find them with these missing or with these cracked. But that was, but they're saying now you can put it in the dishwasher and go. We've always hand washed it, but I guess we're gonna stop that.
You know,
Try one piece.
Yeah, don't move
they're made the
on.
same way a pickle jar is made. I mean,
Yeah,
they were mass produced the same way they mass produce pickle jars.
that's right. It really was. It was the cheap bottles. You find the blue bottles back at this time, which are very expensive also now.
The old milk and magnesia bottles.
Well, maybe a little bit before that, but a medicine bottle. And they are, well, it's amazing what happens. You remember the chocolate syrup you used to get Bosco?
Yes.
And you know, you probably threw away a small fortune. What are you getting for a Bosco bottle right now?
I don't know. I haven't seen any for a while. They're real collectible though.
They're real collectible.
What's unique about them? Is it?
It was like a bear, and it was a bank.
Oh.
You had chocolate syrup, and at the top had a slit on it for a bank when you got done with the chocolate syrup. And now, Shirley Temple glass is another one that's very, and it really was the same kind of thing as this. It was a depression glass.
And didn't the Shirley Temple glasses come in Kellogg's cereal, or am I confusing that? There was some of that,
I think so.
some of the pieces came in oatmeal boxes and cereal
Yeah.
boxes and things.
The piece everybody tries to find is the old Shirley Temple cream pitcher.
Yeah, but didn't that come with Kellogg's cereal?
I think it was a giveaway.
Yeah, I think it was a giveaway
I
with
think it was a
Kellogg's
giveaway.
cereal.
But as we lose some of those things, why, they become valuable. Well, if you need any, if you want to start collecting glass, I'll be happy to share with you everything that I know. Point you to places where you can find some. There's a magazine out called Daze magazine, D-A-Z-E. It's published down in Livonia, I believe, and they specialize in depression glass. That's their big thing.
Did they put the same pattern in different colors?
Yes, most of them produced pink, green, and yellow, I think was the big thing. Blue, some blue. But it was a little bit more expensive to make because you had to add cobalt to the mixture. This was sand and lime and something else that they put together and heated, and then they put something in to make it kind of strong. And
This has no ring because it's not the lead crystal, it's kind of a plunk.
right, yeah, you can use it without suffering from lead poisoning.
Is this a pattern that if you put it under a black light, it glows?
I don't believe. I think you're
Or is
talking
that
about
Vaseline?
Vaseline.
That's
Vaseline
Vaseline
does,
glass?
but there's some kind of a yellow greenish tone about this too, so some
What?
pieces might.
Yeah, I just looking at the way that looks in there, it has that glow in the dark look to it. You ought to try it under black light sometime and see.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea to see if it does, if it enhances it at all.
And that's because they had uranium in them.
Oh,
To make the green color. No, that's true. To make the
Uranium.
green color, they used a little bit of uranium.
I've never read that. They used a little of uranium.
we've been trying to think of what to do with that uranium.
After you're done blowing up the country, you can make green glass out of it. Back into depressing glass.
Wait until the terrorists start collecting all the Vaseline glass.
Oh, boy.
Okay, any other pressing questions? If not, Liz, I guess I'm
All right.
all
Well,
done.
thank you very much.